Thank you. Let's learn more about previous efforts to find Sergeant Bergdahl. I talked a short time ago with Michael Waltz, a former Army Special Forces officer who commanded units involved in the search for Bergdahl in 2009. He's also the author of the soon-to-be-released book, Warrior Diplomat, A Green Beret's Battles from Washington to Afghanistan. He is currently Senior National Security Fellow at the New America Foundation. I asked him to think back to when Bergdahl was serving with that unit, what he was doing.
Well, as you said, Brett, I was the commander of multiple Special Forces teams along the Afghanistan-Pakistan border, including the province, Paktika province, where Bo Bergdahl went missing on June 30th, 2009. So I had control of multiple teams across multiple provinces. And as soon as we received word that we had a missing American soldier whose whereabouts were unknown, we essentially stopped everything. Every soldier, thousands of soldiers throughout all of eastern Afghanistan were ordered to stop what they were doing, from reconstruction projects to looking for members of the senior Taliban leadership. Everyone stopped and shifted everything to searching for Private Bergdahl.
Well, let me rewind. His capture, as you called it, it's been described by some in multiple news organizations now that he kind of walked off post.
Well, Brett, I'm deliberately trying not to use the word capture. Our understanding, and as we're seeing now all over the internet from soldiers who were with Private Bergdahl at the time and were involved in the search, are all clear that he walked off post, that he left with nothing more than water and a few other items, left his weapon, left his helmet, left his body armor behind, and this has been out in the internet and kind of in the media for some time now. So in our view, our understanding at the time, and mine still, and this needs to be thoroughly investigated, he was not captured, he went missing, he left on his own.
Yeah, and that time when you're there, that's what you understood as well.
That's right. That's right. And what was really disturbing, Brett, frankly, was the Taliban knew we were looking for him. In fact, they were deliberately leaving false bits of information and letting those out to ambush us and to purposely draw us into difficult situations looking for Sergeant Bergdahl. I think that's why you're seeing such a vitriolic reaction, honestly, from a number of folks that were with him. In my own case, I had one team that was baited into a Afghan compound with a car bomb rigged to explode. By the grace of God, it didn't. And I had another team who was lured into an area where the ceilings were lined with explosives to bring it down on top of their head. And again, fortunately, that ambush failed. But to be perfectly candid, I think now Sergeant Bergdahl has a lot of explaining to do, and there are a number of soldiers, there are hundreds of soldiers that are now out on the internet asking for some accountability.
What about the deaths? There have been reports that there were at least 6 deaths tied to this search for Bergdahl. Can you confirm that? At
least. I would say at least. There was a very good piece now out today from a soldier who worked with Bergdahl that listed by name the soldiers that died while looking for him, and to the point of accountability. I think he owes us, both the men that he left behind that night, the men and women who were involved in the search for him, and most importantly, Brett, the mothers of those soldiers that didn't come home this weekend. They deserve answers, and when the time is appropriate, the medical professionals say it's okay, Sergeant Bergdahl needs to give those answers and needs to be held accountable if these allegations are true.
Did you know people who died?
I didn't. I knew them. They were not soldiers that worked directly for me, but we heard everything on the radio. These were soldiers that were out on checkpoints. There were a string of checkpoints that were put in place to try to prevent Sergeant Bergdahl from being taken into Pakistan, and as soon as these checkpoints were in place, oftentimes they were attacked. So we worked alongside units who lost soldiers. Again, fortunately and thankfully, none of mine were killed, but it was far too close for comfort, and it was some pretty harrowing situations.
Yeah, last thing, Mike, you spent a lot of time there hunting down bad guys, some of the guys that ended up in Guantanamo Bay. 5 of them are now getting released. They're going to Qatar, but they have to be there for a year. Your thoughts on that and these detainees and the whole process?
Well, Brett, as Senator McCain, Representative Mike Rogers, and others have said, these were the worst of the worst. And I can't emphasize to you, having been out on the ground, how truly evil some of these individuals are. During my time there was a girls' school that was machine gunned with the girls in it. There was a 7-year-old boy who was hung by the Taliban for having dollars in his pockets. These are evil individuals, and Brett, in my view, in the view of thousands of other soldiers, America is less safe and the world is a more dangerous place than it was 48 hours ago before their release.
Mike Waltz, Special Forces Commander in that region, searching for Sergeant Bergdahl. Mike, thanks.
Thank you, Brett.
What do you think? Do you think the Bergdahl deal should have been made? Let me know at facebook.com/BrettBaerSR or on Twitter @BrettBaer. You can use the hashtag #SpecialReport.